big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. I am ensconced within the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Studios, 2 miles from the veritable locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Bill Mill, the capital of Fornicalia, known as Shatramento, where at night, late at night, you can smell the vapors issuing forth from the state capital because it is the locus of evil. You can smell sulfur, brimstone. You got to belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Biff is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them. And the lava lamp is, in fact, lighted to my left, back on the table, your right, which means that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. You can also watch the show live on the SHR Media YouTube channel and Facebook. Periscope is not playing so nice with us anymore, at least temporarily. And until they get their act together, because Lord knows it ain't our fault, well, hey, it's not our fault. Almost nothing is our fault. Anyway, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and always, always tip your waitress. Tonight, in hour 1, we have Beezy's East Coast political goddess known as KARI Baxter Donovan. And in the second hour, we have happy stories, and boy, do I have the veritable arseload of happy stories. Plus, we have an SHR special report, which is about the Intelligentsia elites and how you can recognize them and what they've done to this lovely country. But first, did I not say that we were going to have KARI Baxter Donovan on? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. So I'd like to say welcome, velkommen, hello, and good evening to KARI Baxter Donovan. How are you, madame? KARI Baxter Donovan, are you there? I've got you all Bluetoothed in. I've answered the phone. Okay. This is most bizarre. I've got you on Bluetooth. This is weird. Okay. Alrighty. KARI Baxter Donovan, do me a favor. Hang up, call back in. So hang up, call back in, and I bet you it works that time because I'm all Bluetoothed in, and we'll be raring to go. And with luck, you can hear me. There we go. In the meantime, speaking of the various travails of electronics these days, okay, let's see if I can call her instead. because we just had issues last night. Hey, here we go. All right, how about now, Carrie Baxter Donovan?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Now we're going. Now we're in like Flint. Right. It's weird that sometimes.
Hey, so does it sound too loud though? Because I'm at the Trump Hotel and there's so much noise here. I'm trying to find a quiet spot. Is it too loud in the background?
Actually, no. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't hear any stuff in the background, which is very nice. Are you out in? Well, first we should say that you are in fact BZ's East Coast political goddess. There's a very good reason for that. You're also the co-creator of PopulistWire, PopulistWire.com. See, I'm doing your own promo for you, okay? That's how much the Zeppmeister enjoys your company. In any event, now, first, before we get into your social media, where you can be found, already in chat, Dave is saying, Mark, Carrie's audio is good, no interference. And that's great. I love that. Yes, sir.
That's awesome because where I am is so loud. So that's good news.
Are you having trouble hearing me?
No, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Anyway, before we get into your social media, where you are, PopulistWire, etc., tell us where you are and what you're doing there.
Well, so I'm at Populist. This is really cool. Listen to this. www.populist.media. We have a new website. I mean, we haven't changed our domain to populist.media. There's no .com. I am like liberated. I love it.
Oh, okay.
And, so
okay.
We're there, and that's where we're doing all of our grassroots marketing. And there's a lot of articles up right now. And then I'm at Happit, HAPPIT 1776 on Twitter, and Carrie Baxter Donovan on Facebook.
Okay, now let me make a correction because I'm looking at a website at PopulistWire.com. Now, is that a mirror image of your site for right now?
I believe so. We have a number of mirror sites up.
Because it's up.
PopulistWire is the old site. We were at Populist-Wire for a while, but we've settled on Populist.media. Because there are some problems with the name, so we had to move things around a little bit.
Okay, so instead, it's Populist.media?
Media, yeah. Isn't that cool? There's no .com, no .org. It's just it's almost like naked. It's like being naked. There's nothing after it.
Okay. All right. Now, see, the reason I took time to do this is because I'm going to save this as your site, and then I will keep this so that I can refer to your articles and to your site. Okay, so folks, things have changed.
Awesome,
if you want to find Carrie Baxter Donovan, forget everything else that I just said, because she just gave me the update. The new shindig is, if you want to find Populist Media, it's populist.media. Boys and girls, it couldn't be simpler than that. By the way, I must not be rude. I must recognize everyone that's in the chat.
Big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Hey there. Ritual here to give a big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. The magic of those family moments, that was you. And now there's new milestones to prep for in 2025. This new year, check clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list with Ritual. We've done the research to create science-backed pregnancy support like our prenatal multivitamin, natal choline, and fertility support, all designed to be taken alongside each other. But don't just take our word for it. They're also third-party tested for microbes and heavy metals and Clean Label Project certified. So whether you're trying, thinking about trying, or already there, we don't have to tell you that prioritizing yourself can be the hardest part. That's why we're helping you get started today with 30% off a 3-month supply for a limited time at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The SHR Media chat right now. Michael John Pask was in chat. Whiskey Dale's in chat. Mary Brockman is in chat. Dave Mulliner is in chat. One viewer whom we will not unmask is in chat. And Beantown Billy is in chat. Because I just like to say Beantown Billy. For whatever reason.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's just Beantown Billy. And I'll look over at SHR Media on YouTube. And I haven't been able to pull that up. I'm going to have to refresh. In any event, you're at a Trump motel, are you not?
I am. I'm at the Trump International Hotel, yes, in D.C., Washington, D.C.
And how did you ever manage to get there?
I drove. So I drove, I drive probably once or twice a month to Washington, D.C.
Okay, how long is that for you?
It took me today 4.5 hours.
Okay, that's not that bad.
4.5 hours today.
Okay, not bad.
That's too bad. You can take between 4.5 and 6.5.
Okay. All righty. Whether you have to stop to go pee or get a sandwich or something like that and fill the gas. By the way, over in YouTube chat, I'd like to say hello to Right-Wing Aviator, Cold Warrior, and Jan McKillop are in the YouTube chat. So it's great. I want to tell you, for whatever reason, you probably didn't hear what's going on, but yesterday on the Chat Show, we shat on the show, and we had some issues with various screens, etc. And despite that, we got close to 600 views last night just on Facebook.
I'm so excited to hear that because I boosted that all over the place.
Well, God bless you, and thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, we're partners now. We're not partners. We've always been friends.
Well, yeah, we're partners.
Are we allies?
We're partners in crime. We're partners in crime, young lady.
Yeah, absolutely. So I there is a link for SHR Media on populist.media under, I believe it's under media in the right-hand corner. If you drop down, you will see a link to SHR.
Nice.
And so I said that I was going to promote you. I've been meaning to do it forever, but, it was always one thing, I'll do it the next time because I had whatever thing gets dropped in my lap. Not because you're not awesome, just because I'm lazy. So last night I decided that's it. I am going to put you up all over my Trump groups and see if we can get you some more attention.
Thank you very much.
And that's what populist.media is all about.
Sure, sharing
what we're
things.
Trying to do.
Yeah, sharing things, sharing ideas to people as frequently and as disseminatingly, I just made that word up, as we possibly can.
It's awesome.
And again, for folks that are listening, for those who may just have tuned in, it's populist.media. Populist Media, and it was co-created by KARI Baxter Donovan, and I can't remember the name of your co-creator and co-owner. What is his name?
His name is Scott.
Scott. Okay, great.
Scott.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Scott is a rock star. He's a nuclear engineer, so he knows how to set up all kinds of technical things for me, and I like that. But every once in a while, he throws out an article like he did yesterday on a topic. He got fired up, so he dropped an article. And I have a couple of my citizen journalist articles are up, but otherwise it's pretty much my articles over there.
I just have, to you, KARI Baxter Donovan, and to anybody else, people that are listening live, people that are in chat and YouTube and Facebook, and people that are listening in podcast. Apparently we get a ton of people listening in podcast. KARI, I just have one question.
Okay, what's that? Go.
Why?
What is it?
Why can't I get my very own nuclear physicist?
Because
I feel like I've been kicked to the curb in terms of nuclear physicists.
I kind of feel for you, but you can't have mine. She's mine.
I know. It's just
we can share them a little bit.
Of all the crazy,
okay with that.
Of all the crazy things to link in with, it's either a brain surgeon or a nuclear physicist, and brain surgeons they avoid me like the plague, and apparently nuclear physicists as well.
He's my nuclear engineer.
if you want
He's
to,
awesome.
clearly, I've said this before the last time you were on. Populist.media is a great website. It's simple, it's easy, and I sent you a message saying that, boy, I'd like to steal that guy for just a while to see if he can.
I probably ignored it because I want no one to steal him from me. He's all mine. It's fine. Yeah, no, that's password. Scott does all of that. Mm-hmm.
The website is absolutely spectacular. Again, populist.media.
Thank you.
And if you want to read Kari on Twitter, she's at Happit, Happit, 1776. Now, I asked you this before. I'm going to ask you this again. What the hell is a Happit? I know what 1776
Oh, no, I
is.
can't tell you. It's Scottish. You have to look it up.
It's Scottish. Okay, so if I enter my favorite search engine, Happit and Scottish, then apparently I'll find it, I guess.
You should be able to find it.
Okay. All right. And then
I was searching around for another word for liberty because all the good liberties had been taken.
Oh,
so
okay.
I said, wait a minute, I'm Scottish.
Okay.
I'll look up what's Scottish for liberty.
Okay.
So I ended up with Happit, but I'm not going to tell you what it means.
Okay. I'll have to look myself. In the meantime, you've written a ton of stories, but I want to break this, and I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't really gone anywhere. And I'm going to tell you, I sent this out probably an hour and a half ago. I was watching Tucker Carlson tonight. He's on at 5 p.m. on the East Coast and 8 o'clock on the East Coast. Or excuse me, on the West Coast, he's on at 5 o'clock. And he had Joe DiGenova on, a guy that I really very much respect.
Yep.
He's been in the federal system for quite some time, and he's a frequent guest of Tucker Carlson on Tucker Carlson Tonight. As they were talking, and as soon as he said this, I sent this out in a tweet in terms of breaking news, and that was this. As per Joe DiGenova on Tucker Carlson Tonight, the declassification of every one of the FISA applications is now underway. The White House counsel's office is reviewing the documents, of course, to protect sources and methods. But all those falsehoods that were provided to the FISA court, signed off by the FBI, signed off by the DOJ, and then proffered to the court the second time because their first application was refused. They set into the second application the dossier and acquired their initial tap, essentially, not a tap, but surveillance on the first individual who was never prosecuted, Carter Page. And if this is an if-then equation, if it turns out that this was all a setup, that predicating warrant was acquired under false means, shall we say, it refers to the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, but potentially meaning that everything from that point out, including Michael Flynn, Manafort, etc., is in jeopardy of being dragged down and kicked to the curb in terms of rubble, because that's the foundational element upon which all the rest of these...
Big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Hey there. Ritual here to give a big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. The magic of those family moments, that was you. And now there's new milestones to prep for in 2025. This new year, check clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list with Ritual. We've done the research to create science-backed pregnancy support like our prenatal multivitamin, natal choline, and fertility support, all designed to be taken alongside each other. But don't just take our word for it. They're also third-party tested for microbes and heavy metals and Clean Label Project certified. So whether you're trying, thinking about trying, or already there, we don't have to tell you that prioritizing yourself can be the hardest part. That's why we're helping you get started today with 30% off a 3-month supply for a limited time at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Grand jury, citations, etc. It was all predicated on that FISA warrant. If that turns out to be dust, then every other prosecution or proffering of guilty or sentencing, etc., is in extreme jeopardy. Now, having said that, any thoughts or musings on your end about if it turns out that the FISA warrant was crap? Let's just put it simply, that it was junk.
Right, and so Joe DeGenova and Tom Fenton and Greg Jarrett, I believe, those three guys are the three to watch on this topic. And they've been saying for months that this is what was going to happen.
Yes. That
it was going to be, that we were going to find out in the FISA warrants. And I wrote a couple of articles about that. And I was one of the articles was when Tom Fitton and Greg Jarrett were together. Mm-hmm. And basically they just were ping-ponging off of each other about how this is absolutely, just so corrupt. That the way that they got these FISA warrants with no one there to protect an American civil liberties. I mean, it was shocking, right? And I think that what we're going to find out, is that they really thought Hillary was going to win. Everyone thought Hillary was going to win. And so they let things happen that shouldn't have happened. They let things go. I believe many of them were scared to death for their lives. And I think that some of them are going to come out with the defense that they did things that were illegal because they were scared to death Hillary was going to have them killed if they didn't. So I think that it's been rumored for a long time that you're going to find out that Mike Flynn didn't, do these things and that he was just facing a runaway prosecutor. So it looks like it's all going to get tossed out the window.
One of the things that I noticed is that the FBI, in terms of Michael Flynn, because you brought that name up, many of the FBI agents who conducted the interview with Flynn said that they believed him. They did not believe that he was lying.
Right.
And you referenced also...
So that's even there, right.
Yes, and you referenced some other journalists, and the other one, and those are actual honest-to-God journalists, as opposed to the posers that are over at the New York Times and the Washington Post, where democracy dies in D.C. That's its new motto, by the way, from me.
Right.
There's also Sarah A. Carter and John Solomon, for that matter. John Solomon and Sarah A. Carter are doing prodigious amounts of work on this. She has an article that was just yesterday. It came out on SarahACarter.com. It said, President Trump may declassify the 20 FISA documents that Congress wants. And again, it said President Trump is expected to declassify the redacted 20 pages of documents from the controversial FISA Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant that still have not been made public. And as you mentioned, KARI Baxter Donovan, we're talking to KARI Baxter Donovan, BZ's East Coast political goddess from a Trump hotel in a secret location.
Right.
If this comes out, and I still believe that this is only the tip of the iceberg, but I would also submit that sooner or later we're going to discover that much, if not all of this, leads directly to the occupant in the previous White House, and that people have been doing great work, yeoman's work, on behalf of the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and the DOJ. Pretty much, I'm sad to say, most all of those are corrupt, at least in the top floors.
They have to be, right? Because in order for them to have gotten that far with the FISA court, they have to be corrupt. And then for the cover-up afterwards. And it was really, I was sort of on the fence about who Jeff Sessions was, because I want to believe that he's a good guy. I really do. I've met him. I've shook his hand. I talked to him about the Constitution.
He's a one-trick pony.
And it feels uncomfortable for me to say that he's not playing 4D chess and he's not doing all of this, magic voodoo to help Trump, because this FISA court stuff really shows that he's not been looking out for Trump at all. Because it took Tom Fenton, basically, with his Judicial Watch, which is a citizen watch, it's a citizen watchdog group.
Yes.
To expose what's going on. So it shows the corruption before and after. It's really, really bad. It's good that we're finding out now, when we have concrete evidence. We've known for a long time. I think a lot of us have known for a long time about this horrifying corruption, but now it's in our face. We can't get away from it. It's right there. Of course it leads to Obama. It has to.
What we're discovering, and I believe what we will discover, these are the facts as far as I'm concerned. The DOJ signed off on the warrant because in a large case like that, you run that not just by the AUSA, but you run it by the Attorney General at the time, who was, oh, that's right,
Would have been Loretta Lynch,
Lynch, following Eric Holder. And so
Eric Holder,
Loretta Lynch knew about this, had to sign off on it. Rod Rosenstein was also aware of this.
And some of the FISA warrants are actually when Trump is sitting president. That would have been signed off by Rod Rosenstein, right?
Well, also, here's what happens when you apply for something like this. The first time, the fact pattern is that the FBI, and the FBI signed off on it too, as well, and then got the application papers, went to the FISA court, and the FISA court initially said, we're not going to sign off on this. They didn't believe that there was sufficient information. They came back, inserted the dossier predicated upon Yahoo News and a bunch of other news articles, for fuck's sake, went back the second time and then did acquire that warrant. The other thing I need to emphasize in terms of the FISA court is you need to go back and reapply every 90 days. So the court signed off on it every 90 days, and they went back and reapplied for it continuously every 90 days. So if anyone anywhere is going to attempt to make something similar to an argument of, well, I wasn't cognizant of what was going on, no, these are acted. This isn't. These aren't passive acts. These are active things that you have to make when you go before this court. So it's just not granted in perpetuity, which leads me to conclude that, folks, do you think that Barack Hussein Obama is a stupid guy? I don't. He's a highly intelligent guy, so something as critical as this, do you think that people were not keeping him in the loop, particularly with regard to a presidential election where his thumb and everyone else's were on the scales, trying to tip it into the Hillary Clinton camp? And as you mentioned, KARI Baxter Donovan, from the very get-go, the assumption was it was going to be Hillary Rodham Clinton. And only at the last second, on November 9th, following the massive bouts of alcoholism and pants-shitting hysteria, as I indicated last night, then that's when the narrative was created with Trump and Russia. That, too, is crumbling, by the way. And at this point, I have to ask you, KARI Baxter Donovan, knowing what we know right now and also what you think we are going to find out in the future, would you stop Robert Mueller's investigation?
Well, I certainly would, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. We may disagree on that. I'd say go straight ahead.
But there's also, I was going to say, there's also a good reason to not, and to allow him to turn in his report and show that he has absolutely nothing. So I think, is that where you're going? Is that your...
I think I would suggest that we let him do his business and conduct it as he wishes, because the end game will be, I believe, there will be a rather large humiliation. And I also... And
that's a very good point. I just want to see it end so much, because it's so disruptive, to... But the long game is smart. It is. Let him play it out and turn his report in, yeah.
We will discover, we will find out, I believe, I've said it for quite some time, that this was a soft coup. It will not be portrayed as this, but I believe that it's a soft coup against a presidential candidate, against a president-elect, and on into a sitting president of the United States. Mm-hmm. This is unprecedented. We have not seen this in quite some time, which is why the leftists, the Democrats, and the American media maggots are pushing as hard as they possibly can. But it's one in a continuing series.
I was going to say, that's probably where this anonymous letter comes from. The day after Bernstein's book comes out, we get a deep throat anonymous letter, right? So,
since you went there, and I'm willing to go there too, we got about, 3 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. We'll start that, and we'll continue this after the break. But KARI Baxter Donovan is referring to an op-ed piece in the New York Times yesterday, which came out from someone who is anonymous. Now, anonymity is the name of the game these days in D.C. newspapers, the Washington Post, the New York Times, et al. And an op-ed piece essentially said that, well, we're the deep state. We know much better what we're doing than Donald Trump does. And by the way, we're attempting to corrode his presidency as much as humanly possible from within. Just in general, and I indicate we have 2 more minutes left. KARI Baxter Donovan, do you have any thoughts or opinions on the New York Times op-ed piece from yesterday?
Well, first of all, I think whoever wrote it is either a psychops on our side just making a complete mockery out of the left, which, that's just the conspiracy theorist in me who says, what else could it possibly be? But definitely it's someone who is a coward who can't put his name on it or her name on it. I didn't even write about it because I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And it shows the media is completely now just putting out subversive propaganda. I mean, it's incredibly, it's mind blowing that they would print that as news, because it's obviously, if somebody's not going to put their name on it, it carries no weight whatsoever.
Right, and nor should it as well, except that feature this. You are a citizen journalist, and for that I respect you, and that is what populism and populist media is all about. Being your own journalist, putting the truth out there. As I've said for quite some time, I value honesty and clarity. We're going to take a break. Folks, we're talking to KARI Baxter Donovan, BZ's East Coast political goddess. She is back east, secreted somewhere in, quiet, an unknown Trump motel. And when we come back, I would like to ask KARI Baxter Donovan what she thinks is going to be essentially the outcome of that op-ed piece by whoever Mr., and I believe it's a Mr. Anonymous, will be. Don't go anywhere, folks. Much more buttery political goodness when we come back. I'm the Bloviating Zeppelin. You're listening to KARI Baxter Donovan right here on the SHR Media, shrmedia.com, on the network. Don't go nowhere.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny, on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, live and direct on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
what?
thingies.
The
Those
what?
things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on SHRmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
Against
go.
tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR, the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Studios. 2 hours. 2 hours? 2 miles. Perhaps 2 hours if you're walking backwards from the locus of evil on the entire West Coast, the capital, the Bill Mill in Sacramento, Fornicalia. We're talking to KARI Baxter Donovan, BZ's East Coast political goddess, and we were discussing the New York Times op-ed piece by Mr. Anonymous, and I wanted to make sure that I asked you, KARI, what do you think the blowback is going to be on this? Or perhaps better put, what do you think the outcome of this is going to be, this editorial?
Well, I haven't been on social media at all today and not much of yesterday when it came out. I really literally, I just couldn't care about it at all. So I don't know what other people are feeling, but I'm guessing. So as I'm driving out here, I was listening to some talk radio, and I started thinking about what I thought, would be the result blowback. I have to imagine that it's an interesting story. It gives people something to talk about, but I don't think it's going to actually affect anybody. It's not going to make anybody not support Trump. I would be shocked if someone said, no, I'm not going to vote for him now because of this letter. I think that we're getting to the point where we've been oversaturated now with kabuki theater and drama and baseless, illogical nonsense from the left. Nothing they say makes any sense. Even that letter from what was read on the Rush Limbaugh show today was ridiculous. It was silly. They were saying, that he changes his mind or something. So what? I don't understand what is this person is trying to discredit the president of the United States because he's chaotic? Like, you can't get to be the president of the United States without being somewhat chaotic, I would think. So I really have to wonder, have we reached the tipping point of not caring what the left says about anything at all ever now? Have we reached the tipping point? Are we done? It's just too much.
We're just about there. Here's my take on it, and the reason that I think that it's important. It's important because it isn't important. What he did, whoever Anonymous is confirm to Trump supporters and buttress and embrace his President Trump's argument that there is a deep state and they are working against him because this guy just said so. And it's packed with contradictions. I'm not going to change my thoughts on this. You know, if I didn't give a crap about Stormy Daniels, why am I going to care about some anonymous guy? And the answer is I'm not, because he contradicts himself in the story. He says, we want the administration to succeed and think that many of its he agrees. Many of its policies have already made America safer and more prosperous. Well, wait a minute. Whose policies? Obama's policies? No, he specifically refers to Trump's policies. Nothing succeeds like success. But then he says, well, we believe our first duty to this country, and the president continues to act in a manner that is detrimental to the health of our republic. In your opinion? But he was elected, and you were not elected. And if you don't have fealty to his administration or to him, essentially, get the fuck out. It's no more complicated than that. He says that, well, yes, we have had some successes. Successes have come despite, not because of, the president's leadership style. Stop.
Right.
The president is a salesman. He is a salesman. Always been a salesman. Always will be a salesman. And you have to take some of his impetuous acts like that. He's a business dude. I knew what I bought when I bought him. I knew what I was getting. I didn't think that I was going to get a Mitt Romney or a Jeb Bush, because I will never vote for another Bush or another Romney or another Clinton again. He says,
yeah, the letter is just silly. It's silly. I don't know how to take it seriously. It makes me want to laugh.
Well, if there are successes that have come and they don't care for his leadership style, you don't like his leadership style, do what anybody else does in private business, get out. Right. You have that
Find
option.
Another job. I mean,
it exists.
What are we supposed to get excited about in this letter? That he doesn't like his job, he or she doesn't like their job. They want to save the president, but they don't want to, so they out him. How many? I'm tired of trying to figure them out.
How many people, including you, KARI, how many people have had bosses that you didn't like? Running some kind of a company.
I've never liked any boss.
This was okay.
I've never liked any of my bosses.
Okay, there you go. That's a perfect point. Because many of us, if not all of us, think that our bosses are big boobs, they're cone heads, they don't know what they're doing. Now, you may have worked for a successful company, and Trump, after being handed the keys to the kingdom from his father, could have driven that down into the ground. But he did not. So he must have had some kind of business acumen, and he must have some kind of an acumen here for not driving the country into the ground, because this guy who hates Trump has already admitted that he's responsible for a lot of successes. And as I indicate, whose successes are they? They're not Obama's successes.
In the strangest way, I was laughing driving out here. In the strangest way, it's almost good. Like, we're getting to the point where if somebody could say just about anything about Trump, and we'd be like, nah, who cares? On to the next thing, the next day. Every day, Trump is doing something that is absolutely incredible and keeping his promises, getting stuff done. He's out there just hustling like crazy for America. You go and you look at the executive orders and the things from the White House, and it's like one thing after the next every single day. And then there's also crazy drama every single day. So
yes, there is.
It's to the point where it's like, oh, so you could basically say anything that you want about him, and you're not going to have much of an audience left anymore. It's not going to be effective, which they did that to themselves with their hysteria. I was sitting here, so he's sitting here in the Trump hotel, the International Hotel, and, it's just this big lobby, and people just mingle in and out, and it's all Trump supporters, okay? And a man sat down, and he started talking to me, and he said that he had come from the White House, and there is a protest there, and he showed me on his phone this protest. He said these people have been out there every night for 50 nights, and they're very proud of this. And it's like 20 people, and they're basically just moaning, okay? So imagine this. They're moaning, and they're just kind of pivoting and moaning, and they've got a sign, and it says something, but nobody knows what. And apparently Kathy Griffin was there, whatever her name is, the woman who did the head, right? The little mousy redheaded. And so he says, oh, yeah, and she was there. And then Patrick Howley from Big League Politics was there, and he was in the room, and he's just yelling at her. And then they were yelling, and it's just this yelling fest between the left and the right. And it's about, 25 people. And they're literally, he showed me, they're just moaning. They don't even have anything to complain about anymore. They can't even complain about him. All they can do is moan and whine and cry. They lost. That's all it is. They just don't want to accept the fact that they're wrong and they lost.
I can do this now because it's correct. You hit on one of the primary reasons for all of this occurring is they cannot still, over a year, almost 2 years later after they lost an election, they cannot feature. It's like they've still not awakened from the terrible hangover of the morning of November 9th. And that's absolutely correct. I was looking at an article from Axios, AXIOS.com, and they had a great summary. And I would completely concur with this, and I'd be curious what you think. Their final line says, essentially, Trump already feeds on deep state conspiracy theories. This is unprecedented ammunition for Trump's fiercest defenders to send him over the top. Exactly. Exactly. And then you want not to be known as fake news or deep state when you continue to push that theme. That's the definition of insanity.
Here's what I would say to the leftists is, listen, you're just going to have to accept the fact that Trump is just bigger than life. He's just unbeatable. You are not going to beat him. So just join in the party and have a good time. Because the more that you try to dig up dirt on him, he's a master of media, messaging, and branding. It's all going to turn around in his favor. He might be the one person in the history of the world. You can throw stuff at him and nothing is going to stick on him. So just stop it. Accept that you lost and enjoy the great economy and the high employment and the happy people. Just get on the Trump train, right? But there's a small percentage of egomaniacs who can't accept that they were wrong about something. And they don't have any reason to be sad about it. It's just that they're not comfortable having been wrong about something.
Well, the other point is, and this particularly offends the people in the Northeast, he's not one of them. And I don't mean just leftists. Right. I mean both sides of the aisle. The what I call the GOP establishacks as well. He unsettles. Yeah. He unsettles the George Wills of the world. He unsettles the Bill Kristols of the world. Their little snooty way of life. He's upset their apple cart, and they will do anything and everything to make sure that they keep this. Make no mistake, and this is all about power and money. Power and money.
Yeah, and if you know people in those areas of the world, you know that there's a hierarchy. There's a pecking order.
Yes.
There's you are not supposed to slip your chain and get up over the front of the line.
Oh,
well, Trump just never does things like that. He he figures I'm just going to go and do what I want to do, and people can fall in line or not. I don't really care, but I'm doing it. I'm going for that target. I'm going to get what I want. And it's not necessarily have anything. He's not even thinking about other people, I bet, most of the time. He's just thinking about what he wants to do and how he wants to get it done. So he slips his chain, he gets to the front of the line, and then he leads. And the Bill Crystals, that guy, Bill Crystals of the world, just can't handle it. Like, but wait a minute, you were supposed to work your way up a certain methodology and hierarchy and all of this other stuff. And Trump is like, why? I don't have time for that. And he doesn't care that they're upset. See, you're supposed to care that they're upset. So to them, you know, they like that little bubble. And that is very East Coast. They're very much like that. And there's something in the water there, right? But Trump is completely confused by them as much as they are confused by him. Why would you want to do it that way? So they're just going to have to accept, listen, the country voted for him. And you cannot deny it. You can make up this baloney that Hillary got 2 million more votes. And by the way, there's an interesting story. She didn't get 2 million more votes, legal votes. We know that there was voter fraud, and we know that there were illegal votes.
Correct.
Now, last night, here's breaking news for you, and I don't know if you picked up on this or not, but in North Carolina, ICE has subpoenaed 8 years of voting records. And I've worked the polls in North Carolina, so I know voter fraud has been going on. It is rampant in North Carolina. I've seen it. It will blow your mind. I've stood there and watched it. And Romney knew about it, and he didn't care about it. He let it go, okay? Because I called their lawyers and talked to their lawyers and told them, and they kept patching me through to different lawyers. So, I mean, I know that he knows at least about my story, okay? So then, so this idea that Hillary got this popular vote, no, she didn't. Because we're going to find out when ICE subpoenas these records from North Carolina that all of this massive voter fraud, I think that is going to be a fascinating story and is going to open up the whole country, right? But they're just going to have to accept, listen, he won. We love him. Well, the crazier he is, the more we love him. Why are you complaining about it? They were going to laugh at you for complaining about it. So we're just having a great time. You know, it's been a long time that we had to deal with Obama, and we're just enjoying it. So there.
Very true. You kind of bigfooted me because I did have this article up, and I want to tell people what KARI Baxter Donovan is referring to. Federal immigration officials have subpoenaed more than 20 million documents related to voter records in North Carolina as part of an investigation into alleged fraud. The official request is, quote, the most exhaustive on record for election officials. North Carolina State Board of Elections and Ethics Enforcement Attorney Josh Lawson said to the assistant U.S. attorney named on the subpoena in an email which was provided to Fox News. The request comes in just weeks after Justice Department officials charged 19 foreign nationals with illegal voting in North Carolina in the 2016 election. The cases are also being investigated by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, agency. Stop. KARI Baxter Donovan, I could make an excellent argument to you and anyone listening right now that the 2 million, quote, popular votes that Hillary Clinton got were illegal votes. And I can go you one better. I would submit that it's not entirely impossible that the bulk of those 2 million votes, which put Hillary Rodham Clinton over the top, so to speak, if we're counting properly, just as Joseph Stalin referred to in the 40s, just from California, you could have had enough votes, enough illegal votes to give Hillary Clinton the popular vote, which is, again, why we have the Electoral College, because we are not a democracy. We are a republic, a constitutional republic, and not a democracy, which is why all the leftists, Democrats, and American media maggots want to eliminate the Electoral College wholesale, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But now that's just one of, as Obama says, 58 states. Now, the other 57 states, according to Obama, how many illegal people voted in the rest of the 57 states? Plus, an assload of them are going to come from the dead rolls in Chicago.
Right. There's that. And then in North Carolina, here's something that I know that eventually is going to hit the news.
Okay.
In North Carolina, you can look this up. The Attorney General in North Carolina not the Attorney General, the Secretary of State in North Carolina
Okay.
is under some scrutiny because she has allowed DACA recipients and illegal aliens and other people to be notary republics. Okay, that was a story that came out, I don't know, about a year and a half ago or so.
Kidding me.
And we were trying to now then digging through. I was sitting there and listening to all of this, and I thought, okay, well, why is this a big deal? And I went and I looked. What do notary republics do in North Carolina?
They confirm.
They validate absentee ballots.
Yes, and they also validate people's identities, true or not, because if you have a crooked examiner like that, then they can confirm anybody and everybody that they want.
So they could both be throwing away legal votes.
Yes.
And doing all kinds of other things.
And validating improper votes. Oh, what a great job it would be to be a notary public.
So we've been waiting for this story. I happen to know someone who ran for Secretary of State, and the person who brought the lawsuit, or not the lawsuit, but who filed the paperwork to investigate the Secretary of State, sitting Secretary of State in North Carolina.
Okay.
And so we've been waiting, and I wonder, this is just me now, I'm wondering if we are going to pull those things together. What is ICE looking for? Because there might be something very fascinating that's going to come out of that, and it could have implications for around the country, not just North Carolina.
Yes, also an excellent point. The article goes on to this. It says specifically the subpoena requests from the counties, any and all poll books, e-poll books, voting records, and or voting authorization documents and executive official ballots, including absentee official ballots that were submitted to, filed by, received by, or maintained by the specific county's Board of Elections. Let me ask you a question now.
And we've been having...
You're in North Carolina, correct? That is your state.
Yes, and I've dealt with the Board of Elections. Yes.
Okay, so knowing, as you do, all about North Carolina, another question that I think is pertinent is, do you guys have the motor voter law?
Yes, and I've seen it in action.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Because in California...
That Obama election?
Yeah. Did you have motor voter before California did? We only got it in 2017.
No, we had it for Obama. I watched it. I watched the most incredible voter fraud and things happening. And like I said, I mean, I was working a very heavily pigmented district, okay? And so I was the most pigmentally challenged person there. Okay. And the Romney lawyers came up to me and they said, hey, are you from the GOP? Are you here to do poll grading for the GOP? And I said, yes. How did you know? They said, because you stand out. Okay, so that's just a little joke. So they said, call us if you see any voter fraud. So I did. I called them, and they kept patching me through. I went all the way to the top lawyers and told them what I saw. Mm-hmm.
Outstanding. It's already been theorized in California, because apparently North Carolina's had it for much longer than we have. But already there have been stories written in California indicating that just in the short amount of time that it's been in effect, that up to 20 to 30 to 40% of the people that have applied in the motor voter law, in other words, get your vehicle license, etc., are fraudulent.
Same day registration. Yeah, same day registration, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, gee, do you think that there might be fraudulent there? If I go back and I pull up my posts on Facebook from Election Day, you'll see a number of posts there where I'm talking about how there are so many people who don't speak English standing in line at early voting. They bust people in who didn't speak English. And to me, that was shocking. And there were people on there who were saying, well, you don't have to speak English to be an American. And I'm like, none of these people, because, we talk to them and we hand them, palm cards and talk to them about candidates. So the people who work the polls know who's standing in line. And I saw things with that motor voter same-day registration. There were people who, all kinds of crazy stuff, yes.
Okay.
At least 30 to 40%.
I've got 2 more questions. before we have to wrap it up at the top of the hour. And again, folks, we're talking to KARI Baxter Donovan, who is my official East Coast political goddess. Thank God that I've got a connect on the East Coast. And she is co-creator of her very own spot, populist spot on the internet, populist.media. But one of the first things, first is, what are you working on next for a story? Any stories that you can give us maybe a little bit of insight into that you're looking at right now?
Well, so I want to really get my teeth into that North Carolina voter issue, because we have a voter ID on our ballot in November. So I want to do some real journalism on that. What I'm spending most of my time doing right now is I'm in D.C. and I'm looking for other activists to come and write. So if there's anybody listening who wants to write, find me and send me a note. So I'm in D.C. to do that right now.
Okay.
And I'm also doing some other work with some, the Trump at War that's coming out, the movie that's coming out very, very soon.
Okay.
Very soon. Look for that.
All right.
So I'm working on those kinds of projects. So I'm doing some promotion and looking for activists to promote.
Let me run this one other thing by you finally, and I'd like your thoughts on this as well. Ted Cruz in Texas, Senator Ted Cruz, he's fighting for his political life against a guy named Beto O'Rourke. And O'Rourke is attracting voters, what people are quantifying as beyond the liberal base. I think Ted Cruz, and he's a perfect model for the rest of the GOP. Ted Cruz, I think, made a serious error by thinking that he didn't have to fight right out of the box. And so that's why I say, Ted Cruz, wake up. GOP, wake up. Everybody in the red, wake up. Any thoughts on that?
Well, so I'm doing some work with the Steve Bannon project.
Okay.
And Steve Bannon has been out, talking about, hey, listen, this is Trump's first reelection. This is all about impeachment. It's either you want to impeach Trump or you don't. It doesn't matter. Hold your nose and vote for the rhino, for the Republican. We have to get out the vote for Republicans, because we're going to take them at their word that they're going to impeach the president if they don't.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Ted Cruz made a number of mistakes, and I really loved him, but he made a number of mistakes. And one of them was not coming out fighting, like you said. Another one is, he went against Trump, and it was humiliating and embarrassing. It was horrifying. I was on SHR the night of the convention, the night that he did that, and I just was shaken about that for a long time. So Trump's going to have a rally for him in Texas, and the left is already trying to attack that. But yes, right, he didn't come out fighting. He sort of sat back a little bit, which is what the GOP does historically all of the time. But I think that they're really starting to realize, there's a floodgate of the left. They are registering a lot of young people. And actually, one of the articles that I wrote last week is a young girl who made a Periscope, and she wants to start her own voter registration for young conservatives.
Excellent.
So we're going to help her do that.
Excellent.
Yeah, and
That's
we're
what
going to help her do that and try to get other people to do that, right? But I think that, they're starting to realize, oh my gosh, there is a floodgate of anti-Trump pushing. Now, is it enough? It's enough to win some of the races that we don't want to lose. So they better wake up. They better get started. So if you want to help us, there's an article up right now. Her name is Magdalene Rose. She's in Virginia.
Okay.
She wants to start voter registrations for young people. And if anybody has any ideas how to help her, encourage her, and so if we could get her started, and then she can tell other people to get started. And so what I want to do basically is to simply give her my platform. Go talk, go write, go make Facebook Live, put it up all over social media. We have to hit back as hard at the left as they do to us.
Right, exactly.
We cannot rest.
We cannot
we
rest.
We can never rest.
We cannot make assumptions that things will just, I'll just be fine. You got to fight for tooth and nail. It is for all the marbles. Everybody, you got to vote red in November. You have to overwhelm the vote. You can't trust the polls, particularly the week of the election. You can't trust anything. Do not think that the Democrats have it in the bag, because they will not. Do not think that way. Get out. Be active.
Yeah, so
vote.
And the other thing is, Republicans don't go to their neighbor and say, hey, did you vote today? Because we just don't do that. And this is going to be one of those times that we have to do that. Knock on doors. There's going to be a movie coming out soon called Trump at War.
Okay.
Go and watch that movie. Have a viewing party. Talk about it online. Tell other people. Because I can tell you that social media has already filtered us.
Oh,
the
hell
day
yeah.
the day that it was put up.
Yeah, we haven't even...
People have to be proactive.
We haven't even gotten to social media. There was an article that I was hoping to get involved in with you in terms of George Soros. I mean, there's so much stuff that I would have loved to talk to you tonight about. Anyway, the time is up. I'm going to have to go to a break. Folks, we have been listening to KARI Baxter Donovan, BZ's East Coast political goddess. And one final time, please tell people where you can be read, your site that's changed, and give the update, pretty please.
So the update is www.populist.media. And thank you so much. I love talking to you, and thanks for this, for sharing your platform. That's what we want to do over at Populist Media.
Bingo, exactly.
Share our platform.
And of course, you'll be back. You'll be back.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. You have a great night, and go kick some butt.
Thanks, you too. Yeah, you too. All right, awesome.
Thank
have a
you.
great night.
Good night. Folks, that was KARI Baxter Donovan, the East Coast political goddess. We're going to go to a break right now. When we come back, you're going to hear an SHR special report about the Intelligentsia elites.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
what?
thingies.
The
Those
what?
things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
go. Against tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube. every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
We are back. It's the second hour of the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show with you and me. So thank you for listening to me live at shrmedia.com on Spreaker. Thank you for listening to me and watching also on the SHR Media YouTube channel and also on the SHR Media Facebook page. So if you're on YouTube, hey, subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Facebook. If you go to Twitter, you can find me. I'm easy to find at BZEP, B-Z-E-P. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and also for the tons of people that apparently listen to me in podcast, and there's a ton. Thanks for listening in the podcast as well. We just got through speaking to KARI Baxter Donovan, who is BZ's East Coast political goddess. Now, for the second hour and the final hour of this week, I have essentially only two elements, and they are I've got happy stories, and I've also got an SHR Media special report. Before I even go there, there's another cut that it's a video, but watching the video is not as important as listening to the video. Now, you heard all the shriekers at the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings the past 3 days. And it starts out at the beginning of the hearing, and then they voice and shriek and wail, just like KARI Baxter Donovan was saying that the people are doing apparently outside the White House, because that's so effective. But another person, what didn't get covered yesterday very much because of the Kavanaugh hearing, is the hearings that were going on with regard to social media. So Jack Dorsey of Twitter showed up, his little pierced-nosed self, and again made sure that he kicked Alex Jones and InfoWars off of Twitter permanently. They're never coming back. But unfortunately, a person who may have had some good intentions came into the hearing room with regard to social media and made essentially a big old jackass out of herself. And this was funny as hell, and I didn't expect this, but I want to play it for you because I laughed like a bastard when I first heard this. I almost don't want to name names because I kind of like her. It's Laura Loomer, but I think she made a tactical error on this incident.
Order.
She's in the back.
Huh? What's she saying? I can't understand her. What? What's she?
Okay, what she's doing is she's holding up a little monopod with her cell phone on it, and it's turned back towards her. So this is grandstanding. I mean, I know it. She knows it. Everybody else knows it. But then it goes a place no one else really thought was coming.
How about a $10, $12.5, $15, $7.5, $20, $2.5, $5, $7.5, $30. Hit $30 down here, $2.5, $5, $35, $7.5, $40. Hit $40, $2.5, $5, $45, $7.5, $50. Hit $50 down here, $2.5.
Officer, will you escort this young lady out, please?
Hit $2.5 now, $5, $65, $7.5, $70. Hit $2.5 now, $5, $75, $7.5, $80 to $5, $85, $90. Hit $100 and a 10 and a quarter, 1 1/4, 1 1/2 and a vat, 2 2 and a quarter. Hit 2 1/2 and a vat, 3 able to bomb 300. Hit 3 and a quarter. Cut 3 and a quarter now, half, 3 and a half. And a vat, 400. Hit but a 4, 4 and a quarter, 4 and a half. We're selling the cell phone there, 4 and a quarter, 4 and a half. Hit 4 and a half, 475, 505, 5 and a quarter, 5 and a half. I yield back.
Somehow I think our auctioneer in residence is going to get tweeted about today. Yeah.
That was Congressman Long, who apparently in his former life used to be an auctioneer. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I found that funny as hell. And whatever it was that Laura Loomer was attempting to do, all I can say is, man, she crashed and burned on that one big time.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
So, do I have a happy story and are there good times? I would have to say yes to both, because I've got a ton. I got a million of them. And one of them is this. This is from CBS Pittsburgh, and it says that college removes uniforms featuring Nike logo to protest the Kaepernick deal. And Sackhead Sean and I were essentially saying the same thing last night. What happens when all these various elements and people and agencies, etc., decide that they're not going to spec Nike uniforms anymore because Nike's taking a stand, so they're going to take a stand, and apparently it's already occurring, which is why I predicate that as a happy story. The endorsement deal between Nike and Colin Kaepernick prompted a flood of debate Tuesday. It was a trending topic on Twitter and other social networks, with some fans urging a boycott of the company's clothes and sneakers, even burning and cutting out the signature swoosh logos on their gear. That's fine. You want to go ahead and do that? That's great. And yeah, also thanks to Dave Milner. I had seen it already, Dave, but you reminded me of it, which is why I wanted to use it tonight. Nike also provides all NFL teams with game day uniforms and sideline apparel, a partnership that was extended in March to run through 2028. Okay, very interesting. And this is the happy story part. The College of the Ozarks, a private Christian school in Point Lookout, Missouri, that competes in sports at the NAIA level, said it will remove all uniforms purchased from Nike that contain the logo's brand. Last year, the college added a stipulation to competition contracts, saying it would walk away from any This is great. I'm going to read this again, because the first time I read this, I thought, this is why you need to send your kids to private colleges. Last year, the college added a stipulation to competition contracts, saying it would walk away from any game where the opposing team takes a knee, sits, or turns its back on the flag or the anthem. College of the Ozarks President Jerry C. Davis said in a statement, "If Nike is ashamed of America, we are ashamed of them. We also believe that those who know what sacrifice is all about are more likely to be wearing a military uniform than an athletic uniform." Perfect. Here's another happy story. This came out of Breitbart. Poll. Nike favorability crashes 34% with Kaepernick ad campaign. A poll from Morning Consult shows devastating results for Nike's brand favorability in the days after the making of Colin Kaepernick the face of their new ad campaign, according to the poll via Axios. Now, Axios, if you know or don't know, Axios is not a right-leaning organ. It kind of leans left a little. According to the poll via Axios, Nike's numbers dropped 34 points from a net plus 69 favorable impressions among consumers to a net plus 35 favorable impression. These numbers are nothing short of devastating for Nike, and with no other news worthy of note, there's no explanation for the sudden decline other than the company's commitment to Kaepernick. Now, as I've said for a long time, I am a big First Amendment supporter, and you know what? Nike, people that, Levi Strauss has now decided they're going to be proscription of gun. They want to eliminate guns as much as they possibly can. Nike, you can take that stance. And Levi Strauss, you can take that stance as well. You have a First Amendment. You're a private company. You don't have nearly the influence of the social media giants, monsters. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, the controller of Amazon. and also, if I'm not mistaken, owner of the Washington Post. Funny how that works out. You can do whatever you want. You can take any corporate stance you want. But I also have freedom as well. That if I don't want to have anything to do with Nike, I won't. And if I don't want to have anything to do with Levi Strauss, I won't either. So in the court of popular opinion, let's just see where you lie, so to speak. And I don't think it's really going to go very well. This I found also on social media, on Twitter. This is a young kid. He goes, his Twitter handle is @educationforlibs. But looking at this guy, he's a really young guy. And as a young guy, for 2 minutes, he weighs in on the Kaepernick message.
2 days ago, Nike decided to commit marketing suicide by choosing Colin Kaepernick as the new face of their company. Yeah, Colin Kaepernick, the disrespectful, cop-hating, Che Guevara-wearing, football-incompetent former quarterback who kneeled during our national anthem because of racial injustice and oppression. You know what pisses me off the most? Nike had the nerve to create a slogan for him, hinting that he risked everything to believe in something. Yeah. Believing in what exactly? Ask any of these losers who kneel for our national anthem why they're kneeling specifically, and they won't have a response for you. They won't have a response backed up by facts or statistics. And that's because the police brutality narrative is bullshit. It doesn't hold any water. And neither does the oppression part. Especially for Kaepernick, who has a shitty NFL quarterback going 1-10 in his last season, still had opportunities to sign with the Baltimore Ravens and the Denver Broncos, and still said no. And this was after the kneeling fiasco. So yeah, real oppressed. But after being brainwashed by his Islamic...
I love this kid because he fires back with facts. These are facts about Kaepernick and his abilities. He had chances and chose not to take them.
Girlfriend, he decided to spit in the faces of the people who risked their lives and died protecting our nation
Let me go back. You guys missed something.
After being brainwashed by his Islamic girlfriend, he decided to spit in the face...
Brainwashed by his Islamic girlfriend. That's true. Now, who was he taken? He had a photograph taken recently of his little Muslim girlfriend with another person. Oh, that's right, Linda Sarsour.
Of the people who risked their lives and died protecting our nation so he could have the freedom to live out his childhood dream. Talk about spoiled rotten. And shame on you, Nike, for picking this scumbag. You could have picked Tim Tebow, the original kneeler, who was shamed by the media and lost his career because of his faith in God and Jesus Christ. Or what about J.J. Watt, someone who raised over $40 million for the victims of Hurricane Harvey, someone who loves his country, and someone who's a good role model to our children? Or what about Pat Tillman, someone who literally gave up their NFL career to defend our country after 9/11 and tragically lost his life? That's a true hero. But these companies still don't get it. Anti-American liberals are not the ones with the jobs, not the ones with the money, and not the ones with the spending power. Those would be the hardworking conservatives who love this country. And that's exactly why Nike's stock decided to take a knee as well, dropping over 3% and nearly $4 billion in the first 24 hours. So good job, Kaepernick. Your new job cost your new team billions of dollars. And to anybody out there who's burning their Nike apparel, please don't. Instead of doing that, sell it for dirt cheap online. Let's flood the market and undercut Nike's sales profits. That or give it away to somebody who's less fortunate. Let's turn a negative into a positive. My name's Dylan, and those are my 2 cents.
That is a great idea. What a great kid. I love the hell out of that. Here's another happy story. This is from Daily Wire. RNC chair Ronna McDaniel demolishes Cory Booker with one tweet. Oh, easy. What do you mean about that? After I don't know if you heard it yesterday or today. I forget which day it was. Cory Booker, out of New Jersey, Democrat, of course, who's conducting kabuki theater because I'm sure he's going to be running in 2020, and that's all he did were various histrionics and hysteria the first day of the nomination hearing for Brett Kavanaugh. Cory Booker had the temerity to say that he was Spartacus as he dared the Senate to kick him out for revealing allegedly what he said were confidential documents that pertained to Brett Kavanaugh. And here's the deal. Number one, that was a lie. It wasn't a fib. It was a lie. So what we had was Cory Booker lying to us, who said that they were confidential documents, and what had happened the previous day is they'd been declassified. He knew that when he went in today. And so he lied. He didn't prevaricate. He lied. So they weren't confidential. But he said they were because he wants to be seen as he is Spartacus. Well, RNC chair Ronna McDaniel tweeted a great response that framed Cory Booker basically as the petulant little puerile kid that he really is. Kabuki theater. That's what the Democrats represent. So this is the first tweet that prompted her response. And the tweet is from somebody named Burgess Everett. And it says, I don't think old Burgess had any kind of an idea what he did when he opened up this door. Burgess sent out a tweet that said, "There's a toddler running around a Senate office building wearing anti-Kavanaugh gear." Ronna McDaniel, GOP chairwoman, her tweet sent back, "That's no way to talk about Cory Booker." Okay, I think that's some funny shite. Moving on. Do you remember the doctor? This is also another good story. Do you remember the doctor who was criticizing Trump? He was the guy, Dr. Let's see, what's his name? Eugene Gu, G-U. And he had an assload of barbed social media criticism of Trump. And he sued the president and won, because that was the incident, if you recall, where Trump decided that he was going to block certain people. This guy, Gu, sued and apparently won. So Trump apparently cannot block people now. Well, this Tennessee doctor, who's 32 years old, Eugene Gu, G-U, was, wait for it, let go from his 5-year residency at Vanderbilt University Medical Center on Friday after 2.5 years in the program. Gu told a newspaper that the university's decision not to renew his contract was the same as me being fired. If you don't complete all 5 years of your general surgery residency, you don't get credit for partial completion or anything like that. It's just like not doing residency at all. So he says it's all because of his social media interaction. And actually, the medical center itself came out with this statement. John Hauser said this, a spokesperson for the hospital, in an email statement said, quote, Dr. Gu's, I love that. I like saying Gu, just kind of like I like saying Beantown Billy, just because I just kind of like that. Dr. Gu's repeated assertions that he was disciplined or that his residency program contract was not renewed because of his political or social views are simply untrue. Dr. Gu's public opposition to President Trump, participation in litigation against President Trump, and public advocacy against racism were not the bases for decisions relating to his continued participation in VUMC's surgery resident program. They went on to say that the disciplinary actions against him were related to his professionalism and work performance or lack thereof, indicating that surgical residents such as Gu, undergo a series of steps to determine their professional progress. Those include feedback from colleagues and attending physicians, performance evaluations, and a multiple-choice exam meant to test the resident's knowledge, the hospital said. And essentially, he failed. Gu failed. How sad is that? Here's more happy stories. Here's more good news. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Layoffs just reached a 50-year low. So with not as many candidates to work, businesses are holding tight onto workers, and guess what? They're paying them more money. Oh, and what a terrible thing that is, too. Yeah, but the American media maggots, the leftists, and the Democrats are all saying that's a terrible thing. Really? I say it's a good thing. 50-year low? Layoffs at a 50-year low? Let's change gears.
This is an SHR Media Network special report.
Tonight I'm going to talk about the retired intelligentsia elites and how they're threatened and why they're threatened. And those threatened include John Brennan, James Comey, James Clapper, Susan Rice, and a whole host of individuals, some of whom, in retrospect, possibly shouldn't have been issued a security clearance in the first place. Think, like our good friend, communist John Brennan. That said, the intelligentsia elites are up in arms about the impertinence of President Donald Trump. Fie, they say. How can the guy with the dead orange cat on his head determine who keeps a security clearance? The temerity of that damned interloper. They're the DC intel cognoscenti, the highbrows, the literati. And, sir, let's go back to that first predicating August 15th event, as was covered by the Washington Times. Brennan is the first to fall as Trump kicks off a review of Obama-era officials' access. President Trump on Wednesday, this is back in August, last month, personally revoked the security clearance of former CIA Director John Brennan, a bitter and vocal Trump critic, citing his erratic conduct and behavior. Stop. That's important because if you deal with clearances, etc., one of the things, and that's specifically how it's worded as a reason or a variable given to eliminate or revoke or not renew someone's top secret or other security clearance, that phrase is used. Erratic conduct and behavior. That's what's quoted here, as their clashes escalated over the special counsel's Russia investigation. It was the first move in a White House review of access of top Obama-era intelligence and law enforcement officials, and it's believed to be the first time a president has taken such a direct and public role in shutting off a security clearance. In a statement, Mr. Trump declared that Mr. Brennan has a history that calls into question his objectivity and credibility, and I would completely concur with that. However, they rallied the troops, circled the wagons, and it's time to fight back. Let's listen to one of these hoovering intelligentsia elites try to justify their clearances as what I called the lunatic silver threads of liquid spittle are flung all around the CNN studio, because this is a great audio cut. This is from CNN. And this is Paris Denard having himself the temerity to question an intelligentsia elitist named Phil Mudd. You know, I bet you that even the floor director was disgusted, and the janitor was certainly pissed off at the end of that segment when he had to clean up later that night. Because, after all, you know, the people that service the cameras and stuff like that, those cameras are damn expensive. This is from CNN. About
a lot of these people that have these security clearances, and this is the secret in the swampy Washington.
This is Paris Denard.
Washington, D.C. They have them, and they keep them because it's profitable for them after they leave government. Because if you have a security clearance, especially high-level security clearances, your contracts and your consulting gigs pay you a lot more money because of the access that you have.
It's too bad you can't watch this video because Phil Mudd on the left and Paris Denard on the right. Phil Mudd is looking daggers at this guy. He's about to kill him.
I hope the president continues to do this, and I hope he adds Omarosa to the list, because if she has a clearance, she too, because of her actions, should have it revoked.
Well, I don't know if I'd put Omarosa in the same category of the 75 people who signed those letters, but Phil Mudd, I imagine you wanted to react.
You should see the look on this guy's face.
Profitable, Paris. When I am requested to sit on an advisory board, let me ask you one question. How much do you think I'm paid to do that at the request of the U.S. government? Give me one answer, and you got 10 seconds. How much?
I'll ask you a question. How much are you paid for your consulting and contracting gigs? For being a
I have no
official?
contracts with the U.S. government that pay money.
I'm not talking.
Zero.
And this is the thing.
When
I'm not talking about what the federal
offer advice to the U.S. government,
Phil,
I
let's
get
be
paid
honest.
zero.
Phil, let's be
That's
honest.
it.
I'm not talking about your role with the federal government. I'm talking about the
who are you
contracts
talking
and
about?
gigs that
You
you
talking
get
about
from
General
being a
Hayden?
consultant and a contractor. The consulting firms that they form and that you all get is because you get more money when having a consultant for having the security clearance.
That
Stop
is
acting like
incorrect.
that doesn't happen.
I have
That's the
zero
truth.
consulting relationships with the U.S. government. Zero.
I'm not talking, Phil, that's a good talking point. I'm not talking about relationship with the government. I'm talking about in the private sector. When you have a security
I
clearance
have
and you
zero
keep it.
relationships with the private sector that involve my security clearance. Zero.
And we'll hold that. I'm telling you, folks, this is only going to get better. We're going to pause for a break here, and we're going to come right back with Phil Mudd, who basically just laid down the line on CNN. See, it's not Phil Mudd's show, and CNN, Phil Mudd doesn't own CNN, but he told Paris Denard that Paris Denard has 10 seconds to tell him why. Well, let's listen to more of that when we come back, because if you thought it was kind of silly then, trust me when I tell you, it gets sillier.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m., right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider thingies.
The
Those
what?
things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
Against
go.
tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked. Hello. I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I say thanks again to KARI Baxter Donovan for being on the entire first hour. You can find her new website, populist.media. You can go there quick like a bunny on your favorite search engine. So thanks to KARI for being here in the entire first hour. In the second hour, I started out with a whole bunch of happy stories, and good times for that matter. And I also started out with this because I am continuing with...
You're listening to the
Wrong one. I'm continuing with...
This is an SHR Media Network special report.
And that special report included a conversation on CNN between Paris Denard and another wonderful guy, just a wonderful guy named Phil Mudd, who was disputing what Paris Denard was alleging. Now, Phil Mudd, if you recall, was saying something similar to, I don't have any contracts, and I don't get rich, and I don't make my money off of my security clearance, which apparently he does, in fact, have. Let's continue with the ebullient and upbeat and polite and happy Phil Mudd.
I get $0 from consulting companies that deal with the U.S. government. Are we clear?
Well, I will be clear in saying that everybody in Washington, D.C. knows if you don't want to be honest about it, that's on you. But if you have a security clearance and you keep it, you get more money to have it.
We're done. Get out.
Phil,
it's not your show, so I'm staying right here. Don't be so defensive about this.
Get out.
Don't be so defensive about this. Your voice is still here.
This is a guest on CNN, Phil Mudd, telling another guest on CNN to get out.
You can still do whatever you want, but the politicalization of the intelligence community under this administration, with the people coming on here every day, tweeting and talking about this administration, you all have made it about politics, not the president.
Let's take a beat here for a second, and Phil...
Yeah, right, let's. Good old Phil Mudd, you're a liar then and a liar now. We're going to get back to Phil Mudd, okay? Remember the allegations that he made, that good old Phil Mudd. But from PatriotChronicles.com, there's this story. The truth comes out about how profitable the security clearances really are. It has become more and more apparent that it was a good move to take away the security clearances. Hannity talked about the book Compromised on his radio show. Peter Schweitzer, president of the Government Accountability Institute, gave the foreword for the book by Seamus Bruner. In the foreword, Schweitzer clued us all into how intelligence agents like Comey, like Mueller, were working the system. But they weren't meager connections. They made millions. But wait, wasn't it Phil Mudd who insisted at the highest decibel levels possible that he receives no remuneration from the government? And wasn't it Paris Denard who continued to insist that wasn't necessarily the case with private contracts, right? Well, yeah, to both. Private contracts. James Comey's net worth has skyrocketed 4,000%. By the time he left the Department of Justice in 2005 and came back in 2013, Comey made, get this, folks, Comey made $6.1 million after Robert Mueller granted his employer, Lockheed Martin, the largest contractor in history, a billion-dollar boondoggle. Under Mueller's direction, the FBI granted multiple spy contracts to Lockheed Martin while Comey was advising them on the legality of their operations. Comey also received another... Hope you're sitting down. Comey received another $6 million working for one of the world's largest hedge funds and a meager pittance of $500,000 for unused vacation time. Mueller cashed in as well in 2013 when Comey took over the FBI while Mueller left to start consulting at a consulting firm. Mueller made more than $3.5 million in about a year, giving speeches and representing clients who had previously enriched the FBI director, clients like the world's most profitable spy corporation. But wait, let's continue to visit Hypocrisy Central for a minute, okay? Because this is interesting as well. 2 of Mueller's former clients are cooperating with the special counsel, Facebook and Apple. Let me say that again. 2 of Mueller's former clients, as he's a contractor, they're cooperating with their former contractor because Mueller is now special counsel, Facebook and Apple. Mueller's former client, the paragon of privacy, Apple, provided the special counsel with access to Paul Manafort's iCloud, despite making a public spectacle protecting the San Bernardino terrorists' privacy. Go back to your brain housing group. Do you remember that? Well, wait, doesn't one hand wash another's back while government service is concluded? Of course, it's the gravy train. Like they said in Dune, the spice must flow. Jim Comey and Robert Mueller are very close friends, said Schweitzer. They met each other in the 1990s at the Justice Department and have really been sort of this tag team from the beginning. When one of them is in the private sector and the other one is in government, they steer contracts in the direction of people they're affiliated with and vice versa. It's a very troubling story that shows the revolving door applies every bit as much to these gentlemen, and crony capitalism applies every bit as much as it does to other people in Washington. So, security clearances, I say good, are under the gun like they've never been before, and thank God. Were you aware that there are about 4.5 million people who have various federal security clearances in the U.S.? And so, don't you have to ask? How many of those are totally unwarranted? Trump intelligence officials clash over golden ticket security clearances. They're prestigious, fiercely held, and often highly valuable. And they're under the microscope like never before. Led by President Trump, critics have zeroed in on the proliferation of security clearances and cast them as, quote, golden tickets to high-paying jobs and positions of power and influence, holding them up as shining examples of the Washington carousel that allows the most exclusive establishment insiders to benefit from their status long after they have left public service. These are facts and evidence. You already knew this was occurring. This is nothing more than an SHR special report confirming what you suspected. But then the offended intelligentsia elites had to fire back. Former officials say that any effort to systematically revoke the clearances of such political opponents could undermine the continuity of defense and national security contacts by upending an institutional memory pipeline. That's a great phrase. But some concede that those who hang on to their clearances can gain vast sums of money. And there is a growing push in the White House and Capitol Hill to overhaul the system. Duh. I think there's no doubt that security clearances are a golden ticket in D.C., said Rick Manning, president of the conservative nonprofit group Americans for Limited Government, who argued in favor of revoking Mr. Brennan's security clearance. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, he said. People who get security clearances have earned them. The challenge we have right now, however, is that there are some former Obama administration officials, including Brennan, who seem to be using information they have access for political purposes and to carry out score settling. That's it. Score settling. Do you think? And so I would ask, what happened to me? What happened to old BZ the microsecond that he left the embracing arms of the FBI or the U.S. Marshal? That's right. My security clearance were de-rezzed right out of the system, along with every password or access point I once possessed, and rightly so. It's a need to know versus a need to share. My needs had ceased properly, rightfully, logically. The article continues. White House National Security Advisor John R. Bolton suggested recently that he offered a personal example of how a clearance can benefit an individual and a company. In my case, my clearance was active at the time when I was a member of a board of directors of a company that did classified work for the government, and it was felt important that some of the directors be able to access that information, he told ABC News on Sunday. There were other times when I was a civilian that my classification was dormant, my security clearance was dormant, and I think that's appropriate too. Mr. Bolton suggested a review of the entire system of deciding who has access to sensitive information. High-level officials have also said the approval and review process takes entirely too long. And then there's another serious problem. When John Brennan makes unsubstantiated allegations like Vladimir Putin could blackmail the President of the United States, and he says those things while he's still holding a top-secret clearance, listen to this. Foreign spies upon whom the U.S. intelligence community relies to steal secrets on our behalf might assume Brennan knows something the rest of us do not, said Daniel Hoffman, a retired CIA senior clandestine services officer. In my view, Brennan has been wildly irresponsible, but it would be up to the security experts to determine whether he in fact mishandled classified information or should no longer be trusted with classified information. So Senator Richard Burr essentially asked Brennan to put up or shut up. Senator Richard Burr, who leads the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, issued a sharp rebuke of former CIA Director John Brennan, saying that if he had evidence of Russian collusion, that he should present it to his panel. The North Carolina Republican statement was remarkable in that he had adhered to a strict nonpartisan approach as the committee pursues a more than year-long investigation into Russia's hacking Democrat Party computers and other interference. After President Trump revoked Mr. Brennan's security clearance Thursday, the ex-top spy claimed there was no doubt candidate Trump colluded with the Kremlin. On Twitter, Brennan has accused the president of committing felonies, such as treason. He has asserted Mr. Trump is being blackmailed by Vladimir Putin. Mr. Burr suggests Mr. Brennan has become a partisan ex-director whose statements are purely political and based on conjecture. But listen to this. Even James Clapper wasn't a lockstep friend of Brennan. This is from The Hill. Clapper, Brennan's rhetoric is becoming an issue. Do you think? Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper said Sunday that he thinks former CIA Director John Brennan's rhetoric is becoming an issue in and of itself. This is a quote. John and his rhetoric have become an issue in and of itself. John is subtle like a freight train, and he's going to say what's on his mind. Clapper's comments come in response to an op-ed penned by Brennan in the New York Times, in which he wrote that President Trump colluded with Russia during the 2016 election. Again, as Burr said. Not bursitis, but Burr said. Where's the evidence? Clapper said he empathized with Brennan, but voiced concerns over Brennan's fiery rhetoric towards Trump. I think the common denominator amongst all of us in the intelligence community that have been speaking up is genuine concern about the jeopardy and threats to our institutions, is what Clapper said.
It's all of what you said is factually accurate. Director Clapper, I want to talk to you about the focus on John Brennan after President Trump stripped his security clearance. After President Trump's press conference with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, Brennan unleashed some pretty remarkable criticism against the president, saying it was, quote, nothing short of treasonous. Now, take a listen to how Brennan explained that comment just a couple days ago.
Now, stop just for a second. Do you guys remember when someone was saying, and I wish I had the exact quote, but it was something similar to, President Trump should never have been let alone with Vladimir Putin in the same room, because who knows what kind of information could have been conveyed to Putin by President Trump. That's how fucking stupid this has gone.
And I did say that it rises to and exceeds the level of...
this is Brennan.
High crimes and misdemeanors, and is nothing short of treasonous. I didn't mean that he committed treason, but it was a term...
Ooh, walking back your comment now, John?
...that I used, nothing short of treasonous.
Well, you didn't mean that he committed treason, though.
I said it's nothing short of treasonous. That was the term that I used, yeah.
So we'll get into the president's behavior in a second, but do you think that John Brennan's hyperbole is an issue here? Is one of the reasons we're having this crisis?
Well, I think it is. I think, John is sort of like a freight train, and he's going to say what's on his mind. I think, though, that the common denominator among all of us that have been speaking up, though, is genuine concern about the jeopardy or threats to our institutions and values.
Isn't it odd, though, how the 17 intelligence agencies that came out against Trump they've been trying for a long time, since 2016, essentially. Since Trump stepped into office, they've been trying to brand themselves and have yelled at the top of their lungs that they are apolitical and unbiased, when in fact, it's turning out they were the most politically biased, to the point where even Clapper is having misgivings about this. Then we have the issue of James Clapper himself leaking material to CNN, his new host network, upon retirement. The Washington Times wrote, Obama DNI Clapper leaked dossier story on Trump, House Intel report. So this just isn't made-up bullshit. This is from a report. James Clapper, while the nation's highest-ranking intelligence officer, leaked to CNN sleazy anti-Trump information contained in the Christopher Steele dossier that was privately briefed to the president-elect, according to a new House intelligence report. Stop. That's the document 20 pages of that were previously redacted may soon be revealed and declassified by President Trump. Now a paid CNN analyst, Mr. Clapper, had denied that he was the leaker. He is an ardent Trump critic and has predicted his downfall. President Barack Obama's Director of National Intelligence, Mr. Clapper, admitted to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence in private testimony that he briefed CNN's Jake Tapper in early January 2017. Why is he briefing CNN? He had pressed FBI Director James Comey to present to Mr. Trump at Trump Tower on January 6, 2017, the dossier's salacious parts, according to Mr. Comey's own memos. CNN then ran a story on January 10, 2017, about the briefing, which said the Russians own compromising material on the new president concerning prostitutes in a Moscow hotel room. I showed this to Sackhead's Clint last night. I have a copy of the dossier. I had to look long and hard on my favorite search engine, but the copy is still there on the internet. So I have the 35 pages of the dossier, and if I can get it, you can get it too. And if you haven't read it, you should. The report gave the dossier instant legitimacy. Its unverified charges have dogged the White House ever since. The Trump White House, in particular, quite specifically.
The report from the House committee says this. Clapper acknowledged discussing the dossier with CNN journalist Jake Tapper and admitted that he might have spoken with other journalists on the same topic. Clapper's discussion with Tapper took place in early January 2017 and may have happened with others as well. Dan.
CNN has learned that the nation's top intelligence officials provided information to President-elect Donald Trump and to President Barack Obama last week about claims of Russian efforts to compromise President-elect Trump. The information was provided as part of last week's classified intelligence briefing regarding Russian efforts to undermine the U.S. elections.
And what a conniving snake this guy is. Let's walk through what he did here. They needed to report on the dossier, the media.
By the way, this is Dan Bongino, great guy.
The Democrats. But here,
former Secret Service agent as well.
Here's the problem, Pete. The dossier was false. It was bogus. It was unverified junk. Even the slime bag media folks couldn't report on it without getting into some serious liability. So they concocted this genius scheme, these sickos. Clapper tells Jim Comey in January, which your dates are right. Yep. Go up and brief Donald Trump and tell him about this dossier. Clapper then goes and leaks to CNN that this briefing happened about the dossier, knowing what, Pete? That everybody's going to go, there's a dossier, yes, and then start reporting on it. Conveniently, BuzzFeed then puts out the dossier just a few days later. What a bunch of slime bags.
Than the Russians. So top officials within the Obama administration, including at the FBI, including at the CIA, and including the head intelligence man in the entire government, Clapper.
This is Mark Levin.
Conspired to take out Trump, the candidate, Trump, the president-elect, and now Trump, the president.
Here's more information from thefederalist.com. Declassified congressional report. James Clapper lied about dossier leaks to CNN. That's funny. I don't see any investigations of James Clapper. Do you? A newly declassified report on Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. elections reveals that former intelligence chief James Clapper lied to Congress about information he shared with CNN on the infamous Steele dossier. Well, apparently James Clapper still has a security clearance. How much longer? Buried within a newly declassified congressional report on Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. elections is a shocking revelation. Former director of national intelligence... Stop right here just for a second. There's the CIA director, and then there's the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. In the hierarchy of power, the DNI is the head of all the intelligence organizations. So the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, who is James Clapper, is basically John Brennan, his boss at the CIA. So I want you to understand the various hierarchy that's going on here. In one of the findings within a 253-page report, the House Intelligence Committee wrote that Clapper leaked details of a dossier briefing given to then-President-elect Donald Trump to CNN's Jake Tapper lied to Congress about the leak, and was rewarded with a CNN contract a few months later. And that's how it goes. And that's how they become the intelligentsia elite. So back to John Brennan. Remember the Brennan versus Feinstein wars, where Brennan insisted his CIA didn't spy on Congress, right? Except that it did. Headline, Inquiry by CIA affirms it spied on Senate panel. An internal investigation by the CIA has found that its officers penetrated a computer network used by the Senate Intelligence Committee in preparing its damning report on the CIA's detention and interrogation program. The report was the agency's inspector general, also found that CIA officers read the emails of the Senate investigators and sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department based on false information, according to a summary of findings made public. One official with knowledge of the report's conclusions said the investigation also discovered that the officers created a false online identity to gain access on more than one occasion to computers used by the Senate committee staff. The Inspector General's account of how the CIA secretly monitored a congressional committee charged with supervising its activities touched off angry criticism from members of the Senate and amounted to vindication for Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, the committee's Democratic chairwoman, who excoriated the CIA in March when the agency's monitoring of committee investigators became public. So here's the deal. The Democrats lost confidence in John Brennan way back in 2014. So what happened since then? There's only one real, true variable that's occurred since then. Oh, yeah. Trump. But anger amongst lawmakers grew throughout the day, leaving a nearly 3-hour briefing about the report in a Senate conference room. Members of both parties called for the CIA officers to be held accountable, and some said they had lost confidence in John Brennan's leadership. Quote, "This is a serious situation, and there are serious violations," said Mr. Chambliss, generally a staunch ally of the intelligence community. He called for the CIA employees to be dealt with very harshly. Stop just for a moment. I'm going to play an audio cut of that. For those of you who may think that the show is going to be stopping at 10 o'clock, it's not. We're going to go into overtime because this is, in fact, an SHR Media special report. "This is a very serious situation. There are very serious violations," said Mr. Chambliss, generally a staunch ally of the intelligence community. He called for the CIA employees to be dealt with very harshly.
In another major story tonight, the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee has accused the CIA of spying on Congress in an astonishing speech. Democrat Dianne Feinstein claimed that in 2010, the agency hacked into the computers of her committee, which oversees the CIA. Wyatt Andrews has our story.
From California is recognized.
The speech was both a surprise and unprecedented. Dianne Feinstein, the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, says the CIA spied on the committee's computers and deleted important documents. She said it happened during an investigation into the CIA's controversial interrogation techniques, including waterboarding used against suspected terrorists. By snooping on Congress, Feinstein said the CIA crossed the line.
I have grave concerns that the CIA's search may well have violated the separation of powers principles embodied in the United States Constitution.
The director of the CIA, John Brennan, denied that the agency did anything wrong.
As far as the allegations of, CIA hacking into, Senate computers, nothing could be further from the truth.
That was a lie. Let me say it again. It wasn't a prevarication. It wasn't a fib. It wasn't, I misremembered. It was a lie. It was a lie. He is a liar.
I mean, we wouldn't do that.
But Director Brennan himself disclosed in January that the agency had conducted a search of the committee computers. Here's the issue. For years, the CIA and Intelligence Committee have shared computers at a secret site in Northern Virginia where committee investigators could access classified documents. Last year, the CIA complained that Senate staffers had hacked the system and copied a document considered off-limits. That document, called the Internal Panetta Review because it went straight to former Director Leon Panetta, is said to be highly critical of the CIA's interrogation program.
Uh-oh, you see this building? You see where this is going, of course.
Senator Feinstein denied there was any hacking and said the committee broke none of the rules.
The document was made available to the staff at the off-site facility, and it was located using a CIA-provided search tool.
This clash now leaves both sides, the Senate and the CIA, accusing each other of possible criminal violations of computer law. Both sides have lodged complaints at the Justice Department, but Scott, in the past, disputes like this have gone all the way to the president.
What? By the way, it's 10 o'clock right now on the West Coast. It is 1 a.m. on the East Coast. You are listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. We continue with the SHR Media Special Report. And by the way, how soon we forget. What happened to John Brennan because of that? Oh, that's right. If I had a producer that you'd be hearing crickets chirping in the field. Nothing happened. So let's ping-pong back to James Clapper. I'm going to be honest and clear right now. The two things I value most, James Clapper lied baldly, nakedly, abjectly to the American public and to Congress. Does anybody remember this? Because I sure do.
So what I wanted to see is if you could give me a yes or no answer to the question, does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
Right, not wittingly. By the way, okay, this is classic. If you watch that video, go back to your favorite search engine or go to YouTube. This is classic textbook body language that you will see displayed by James Clapper to indicate lying. His right hand is on top of his head. He refuses to look Ron Wyden in the face as he answers. He glances up and down, and he rubs his head as an affectation. You could, and instructors do, you could use this video in classes on interview and interrogation, as in, here's the quintessential example of lying in public. Here's another example that I have, that I've archived, of James Clapper lying in March of 2017, because in retrospect, we know this to be false because Flynn, Stephanopoulos, Manafort, and Cohen prosecutions, as in, well, how'd they get the information otherwise? Now I think you have a pretty good idea of that. Here's James Clapper lying once again. Jimmy?
This idea that maybe President Obama ordered an illegal wiretap of
Oh, this is one of my favorite guys, Chuck Todd. Everybody loves Chuck Todd.
his offices. If something like that happened, would this be something you would be aware of?
I would certainly hope so. I can say, obviously I can't speak officially anymore, but I will say that for the part of the national security apparatus that I oversaw as DNI, there was no such wiretap activity mounted against the president-elect at the time, or as a candidate, or against his campaign. I can't speak for other Title III authorized entities in the government or a state or local entity.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if the FBI, for instance, had a FISA court order of some sort for a surveillance, would that be information you would know or not know?
Yes.
You would be told this.
I would know that.
If there was a FISA court order.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we discover what really is in the FISA application, essentially James Clapper indicated that there is, in fact, a direct nexus back to him.
On something like this.
Something like this, absolutely.
And at this point, you can't confirm or deny whether that exists?
I can deny it. As I understand it, this was simply an extension of the original FISA request, meaning that, or implying that, apparently there was information that was considered valuable that was being obtained via the initial FISA request. FISAs have finite dates.
See, this is Clapper in 2018, by the way, conflicting his very own prior statement, saying that, well, yeah, there was a FISA. Okay, so anybody besides me starting to see something of a thread or a pattern or a trend here? Perhaps why I presented the old contrast and compare back and forth method used by my various professors in college. Now let's go back to the first audio cut that you heard. Let's go back to Phil Mudd. Remember when Paris Denard said it's profitable for them after they leave government service because if you have a security clearance, your contracts and your consulting pay, they pay you more money because of the access you have. Mudd then testifies and says he has no contracts with the government that pay him anything. Really, Phil? Really? Mudd completely deflects and fails to answer Denard's question. So I began to think, okay, here we have the meat of the matter. And that's this. Mudd's meal tickets are being threatened. His power, his connections, and cash. Let's talk about a few facts about Phil Mudd. That's this. Mudd joined the CIA in 1985. He was an analyst, and then he worked for the CTC, the Counterterrorism Center, in 1992. In 2005, Mudd was appointed by then FBI Director Robert Mueller to the FBI's newly created National Security Branch as Deputy Director. Are you starting to see the connection here? Mueller and Mudd worked together a little over 4 years. Now, Mudd was later promoted to the Office of Senior Intelligence Advisor at the FBI. He served in that position until he retired from government service in March of 2010. All of this was due to his good friend, Robert Mueller. So I did a little bit of digging because I have access to various search engines. Remember when Phil Mudd says he doesn't get a government dime for anything? Number one, I don't really believe that for a moment. Number two, I wonder what he does. I had to wonder. I wonder what he does now after retirement. Well, I hope you're sitting down. Would it shock you if I were to tell you that Phil Mudd created his own security consulting firm called, wait for it, Mudd Management, and that he is its president? Would you be shocked at that? Okay, this is a quote directly from his Mudd Management bio page at philmudd.com. Mr. Mudd is the president of Mudd Management, a company specializing in security consulting, analytic training, and public speaking about security issues. Mudd also sells T-shirts. Wow, what a great place to go. He's kind of like the bodega or the segunda of retired intelligence officers. You can get your security consulting as well as T-shirts that say, if you remember when this was a theme, this is a T-shirt that says, I'm a proud shitholer, and references it to Phil Mudd. So, did Phil Mudd lie? How can I count the ways? His very checkbook depends desperately on holding on to his security clearance. His security clearance is monetized. He loses cash, power, and prestige if it's ripped from his cloying little hands. And so finally, here's this from Lee Smith at Real Clear Investigations. Another little nail in the security coffin, I guess you could say. Privately, intel officials back shutting out Brennan and Clapper. Ooh, bet you didn't hear this story, did you? And that's why you listened to the SHR Media's special report on the Intelligentsia elites, right here on the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. President Trump has been criticized for politicizing the intelligence community by threatening to strip the security clearances of former top officials, including John Brennan and James Clapper. But numerous past officials and present senior intelligence officials say that the Obama administration started the politicization and that revoking the clearances of those who abuse the privilege for partisan purposes may help right the ship. As is often the case with the Trump administration, this is a quote, "The rollout of the policy is bad, but the idea driving the policy is sound," said one senior intelligence official who, like many others interviewed for this article by Lee Smith, spoke to Real Clear Investigations only on condition of anonymity. Quote, under some Obama-era intelligence chiefs, intelligence was used as a political weapon. We need to root that out, not reward it. Thank you very much. But, shh, now don't tell anybody that most of the intelligence community secretly thinks that Comey, Brennan, and Clapper are outright boobs that are tarnishing the profession. So, take away security clearances from those who retired or were fired or resigned? Hell yes. All of them. Make everyone prove that they have a need to know again. And I guess maybe one final question might be something similar to, I wonder who's next.
Monsieur! Has been locked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP, and on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. My original music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at reverbnation.com. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. And also thanks to my first hour guest, KARI Baxter Donovan, BZ's East Coast political goddess. Thanks for her time. Thanks to you for listening live tonight. Thanks to you for engaging in chat in the SHR Media chat room and also in the chat room at YouTube. Thanks for watching on YouTube and also watching on the Facebook page. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next Tuesday. Everybody, please, God bless, take care, be safe.
Quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.